about self-image, which is really important. So get this up, make it big, make this. So yeah, so your self-image will be one of the most essential things for your life, right? And like there's actually been studies of like plastic surgeons, and they're saying people have the same results, but they see each other like the same, right? Some people would have like feel like they have like, gotten like amazing results and self-confidence is through the roof. Others will feel exactly the same, or they'll feel like they even feel even worse because they thought, oh, I feel so much better if I had this. So it all comes to psychology at the end of the day, right? Tony Robbins himself, so he's probably the most well-known performance coach, says it's 80% mindset, 20% strategy, so 20% the system. So that just shows you 80-20, it's the odds, right? And like for me, for example, when I reached the lowest body fat percentage ever, I was actually the most unhappy with my life, right? Because I thought, everything will change. I'll be this, confident person, and the world will be like, unicorns and everything. I don't know. I had these big expectations, but I was actually very sad when I got there because I didn't do the inner work. Right? I was still self-conscious. I just was like a smaller version of myself, self-conscious. So and your self-image will create your success, and it comes down to the stories, really. Like, what is your life story? Are you the right, because you are the writer and you're also the reader. You are the winner. You can be the winner, you can be the hero, you can be the villain, or you can be the victim, and the choice is yours and yours alone. So we can actually choose what identity that we wish to have, but it just comes down to our choice at the end of the day. And what is self-image? Self-image is like the mental picture we have of ourselves, and the self-image is influenced by like behaviors and success, all beliefs about ourselves, right? And that's how it's created. And it could be, things from the past. So for example, if we're around with our friends and we're the biggest one, we're like, oh, I'm the fat one. Or our parents or teachers or siblings or friends say, hey, you're fat, then we recycle that belief and it becomes our own. I think I've talked about that a few times for the ladies who've been here for a while. And usually people don't question these beliefs. Like, is this actually true or not? Like, am I actually fat? And actually with fat, like with the word fat, you can argue it. Like, for example, I know a lot of people say, oh, according to BMI, I'm obese. I'm like, well, BMI is actually outdated by almost 100 years now. That's when it was created, 1930s, BMI. So then we know, so there's an argument that that's not even true. And what I always tell people is that fat can never be an identity. Fat is just stored energy on a fat cell, and you can gain it and lose it, but that's on who you are. And so you have to ask yourself, who are you? And the greatest thing about life is that you can choose. You have a choice. And you just have to think, like, what if they weren't true? And how do you feel when it comes to your self-image? And what stories are you telling yourself? And I'd like to tell you about a story about a man who believed that he was ugly, right? He just believes in his heart and his soul that he was ugly. And the thing was that people actually didn't believe that he was ugly, but that he was so moody and a Debbie Downer that people didn't want to hang out with him, didn't like his vibe, because of his mindset. The way that he saw the world was in a negative frame. And it actually had nothing to do about him being ugly. It just had to do with his mindset, okay? And so that's really like good to remember, that we have to really see those beliefs. And if you go through life thinking you're unlucky, you're unloved, untalented, that would be your life. It all comes with the way that you think. So really be careful of like the words that we use and the words that we think. And it's really important to have rational thinking. Like, calm down and be like, is this feelings or is this facts? Like, is this really reality? Like, or am I just feeling this way? Okay, it's like, for example, you ask someone out on a date and they say no, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my god, I'm so ugly, I can't be loved, like this, what's going on? But that's actually feelings. It's not actually facts, okay? That chances are there's at least one person in the world that will say yes to you to go out on a date, right? And so that's just an example on how how radical our thinking can be, right? And so we just have to be really rational about our thinking, like calm down, take a step back and really just think logically about it. And it doesn't define who you are. It's not fact. Feelings are always fleeting and it's always going up and down, up and down. Like today I could feel amazing and great. Yesterday I had a big headache, right? And so yesterday I wasn't feeling that great. But it's always fleeting, it's always going up and down. And that's just life, right? And how to write a better story. Ask yourself questions. Why? Why do I believe this? Why do we believe we can do something? Is this based on facts, feelings, a tragic story that we came up with? Or is it, again, someone else's belief? So ask yourselves why and why not are great ones. Why not now? And why not me? Why not me? Those are very powerful questions to ponder. And the logical reasons to support the story. Could it be possible that I'm mistaken to holding on to a belief? Would I reach the same conclusion about someone else in a similar situation? Why should I continue to act and feel in this story if it's true, if there's no valid reason to believe it? Like, I'm just fat and that's that. And I'm like, oh, how's that story? Or like people laughing about being fat. Like, how's that story going for you? Or blaming others. Like, I used to blame my parents for my weight. And I realized blaming others wasn't serving me. Like, I had to take, like, it was my life, my body. I had to take ownership, right? No, ownership always equals freedom. And always return to the source. Is this belief rooted in real fact or based on assumptions? Right? Like, what is it? And your brain is like a computer, and your self-esteem is like a software. The theories I'm talking about is cybernetics and psychology. Our brain works on like a supercomputer. And have you heard this before? Like, our brain's like a big computer. There's actually a book about this as well. I'll send the link as well, based on all these theories. And for like happiness, for example, it's a choice, not a result, okay? So a lot of people think like, after I get this career, money, promotion, that will make me happy. But that's temporary joy. It's not everlasting happiness. And we keep on changing the activity or changing the things that we have to fill the void in our hearts. But it just becomes this like pointless loop. And then it just becomes, eventually all leads to sadness, right? But the way to be completely free of this is by choosing happiness. And like, it's not anything external, it's all internal on how we react to things, right? If someone cuts me off and almost hits my car, I have a choice, right? I can let it ruin my day, have road rage, go and beat up the guy, end up in jail. Or I can be like, okay, he did a mistake. Just let it go, right? We all have a choice. And just stay positive in every situation, finding content with what we have and embracing self-love, right? And imagination is very powerful. And honestly, I believe like imagination is so freaking underrated. It's crazy. Our imagination is actually true because it's who we believe we are. Our mind shapes these images of how we act. These images are our imagination. So how we think of ourselves, crazy, right? Like I had this belief about myself. It's just an imagination. Like, it's not actually, it's true and untrue all at the same time. And Just imagine self as a successful person. Be before you are and you will become. It's one of my favorite quotes because it's so true. If you want to become something, okay, what does, Nikki, whatever your goal weight is, Chris, whatever your goal weight is, like, what does this version of myself, my goal version of self, need to do? And then you reverse engineer it. And then you be before you are and you will become. And our brain doesn't know the difference between a strong visualization and a memory. So if we can visualize it strong enough, the brain just believes, which is very cool. And whether it's a test, having successful relationship, thriving careers, it's not because someone's more talented, luckier, or more likable to get what they want. Success is in all of us. We just have to unlock it. And this is a really cool acronym. And so it's like S, sense of direction. So purpose, knowing our why and like, where are we going? Okay, like why are we doing this? Why are we putting ourselves through all this pain and heartache and everything, the days that we want to do it and we do it anyways, like why are we doing this? And finding our purpose of wanting to change. Okay, like why are we doing all of this? So for me, like one of my beliefs is that I want to be like as strong as possible, right? My whole thing is strength. And one of my things is that I want my son to grow up and be like, whoa, my dad's like super strong, right? That's one of my goals, is to set a good example for him, because I believe all men should be strong. I want to set that example for my son. So that's a good purpose and a why behind the why, setting a good example, okay? Seeing different perspectives and being communicators, right? One of the greatest feedback that I get from people is that I'm understanding. Having empathy for people is something that's great, and a lot of ladies in this group have a lot of understanding, a lot of empathy for others. We just have to mirror it to ourselves, okay? Courage, right? Being bold, going to the unknown. Sometimes this can be so uncomfortable, right? Going on a weight loss journey, going on a fitness journey, fully understand. I had to do it myself. But we have to be brave, right, and move forward. And having courage is doing even when we're scared, even though we're uncomfortable, and we move forward anyway. The second one is charity, giving back, being kind. And everyone in Double Digit Coaching pretty much does that, which is cool. Esteem, paying attention to your self-esteem and creating a positive inner story and inner voice. Self-confidence, the story that we tell ourselves. Looking into our own power and saying, yes, I can. Lisa had a really cool one. She told someone, hey, don't talk to me like that, which is incredible. And that's, self-confidence, and that's tapping into your power, right? Putting boundaries and saying yes to you and no to others, very powerful. And self-acceptance, finding peace within yourself, letting go of perfect. It's okay to have flaws, and it's okay to be yourself. Well, common fears and anxiety that I see on the way of any success in life is like a fear of failure, fear of rejection. Now, fear of failure, it's really interesting. We're told from a young age, and I feel like, I don't know what it is, but there's this whole thing of failure. But the funny thing of failure is that to be successful, you need to have failures because you need data and know what not to do. So failing is just a part of it. And so you fail enough, you fail. It's like fail, action, fail, action, fail, action, fail, action, fail, action, success, new goal. Fail, action, right? And that's what life is. But there's this whole taboo thing of failure. Probably at school, if you fail a test, it's a bad thing. But we need to untrain that. Fear of rejection. A lot of people are being afraid of people going to say no, but that's okay. Rejection is a part of life, and it's just a part of it. And so just getting very comfortable in rejection. And I even say, like, put yourself out there more and expand this more. And even when you put yourself out there and people say no, you still have the sense of pride. And it's not as bad as what you think it is, okay? And uncertainty, right? And uncertainty is fine, but to be certain, you just have to do it enough times to get certainty. And it's just a learning phase, okay? Perfectionism. The thing with like perfectionism, a lot of the time, with most people I've noticed, like the 99.9% of the population, I want it to be perfect, but it's just a form of procrastination. Perfectionism, and that's why I'm going to give up. It's like, well, it's just a fancy word of being a procrastinator. And imposter syndrome, feeling that we don't deserve it, right? And all that is a story. So we need to rewrite the narrative when we're feeling that way, to know I do feel like I deserve this, right? And people who don't know, imposter syndrome is like when you achieve something and you don't feel like you deserve it, and then you self-sabotage. And so that's just a story that we need to tell ourselves the opposite, that I do deserve it. Here's the evidence. I've lost 35 kilos or whatever it may be, and here's the evidence that I deserve it and I've done the work. Cool? And understanding confidence, right? And so feedback looping. So feedback loops are really awesome because that's how we build habits, okay? So it's, for example, there is a trigger, then there's a response to the trigger, and there's a result, okay? So, for example, if you read the book Atomic Habits, they have a really good way of talking about explaining this. I actually think Atomic Habits is one of the best self-development books ever, in my personal opinion, because it's very simply laid out. But let's say, for example, it's smoking, okay? So it's just like, okay, you have a smoke, so you get stressed, right? So that's a response. The trigger is having the cigarette, and then the result is that you feel calm, right? Or whatever they do. So the how you reverse that is you swap with something else. So it's like, okay, there's a response, I'm stressed, and instead you go for a swim, let's say, for example, or a run, and then you feel the endorphins after the run and everything like that, for example. Recognizing self-doubt, again, that's just a story. And challenging negative thoughts, like catch yourself and be like, do I truly believe that? Is this belief serving me? If it doesn't serve me, maybe it's time to think of something else. Building self-efficacy. Finding it hard to talk on these when I talk for too long. So yeah, just believing that you can actually do it, and the only way that you can get that belief is by actually actioning it, okay? Expanding comfort zone, so push yourself out of your comfort zone, and you'll feel a lot better. You'll feel uncomfortable at first, but you'll feel a lot better. So signing up for double digits for a lot of you was out of your comfort zone, but you did it, you crossed the threshold, and now you're here, and now you've got this really cool environment. Practicing self-compassion, and that's a huge one with double digit coaching that we try to do, showing ourselves self-love and self-compassion, and and celebrating ourselves, celebrating achievements, big or small, and just like being real kind to ourselves, that you're trying your best. We're all good people here, and just showing ourselves that self-love, and we'll get there. Just little steps, baby steps, one step at a time. Seeking feedback and learning from mistakes. Like, I failed thousands of times, but that's how we learn. We get feedback and then we just go again. And visualization and positive affirmations are huge. As I said before, if we can create in our minds, and if we can hold in our head, we can hold in our hand. And just setting realistic expectation, like Rome wasn't built in a day. And this is all gonna take time. And give yourself a chance. Give yourself like a year for this. Give yourself 2 years for this. Think like the big game, and then we're gonna do it. Because for most of us, it's like 20 years to take on this weight. I think 20 years of putting it on and 2 years of hard mahi, I think it's a good trade-off, So that's that, team. And yes, and take massive action. So thank you.